we are joined by two-time Super Bowl champ Ed McCaffrey, Broncos legend, should be in the Ring of Fame, should be in the Hall of Fame as well. Ed, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. You're too kind. Thank you for that intro. You were hired.
Man, oh, right on. Let's go. And of course, you are joined today, or you're rocking and rolling with PXG.
Yes.
Thank you. A great golf company. You've been rolling with them. Another one of your guys, Terrell Davis, is rocking and rolling with them. Tell me about it. PXG.
Yeah, I golfed with Terrell this past summer. He's actually a really good golfer. I was surprised. He has a good short game. I figured he'd hit the ball long off the tee box, but what's going on, man? Good to see you. But talking about Hall of Fame running backs, holy cow, this place is loaded with just phenomenal people, phenomenal players. It's like a reunion for me. But in the off season, and now every day is the off season for me, I picked up golf, and all my kids love it too. Christian and Max and Dylan and Luke, they get kind of competitive. And luckily, TD and I were on the same team, and we were using the same clubs. But the clubs are customized, and as he would tell you, I'll tell you the same thing. Like in football, you have customized everything. Now the helmet is customized, it's molded to your head, your shoulder pads have to fit properly, you have to have the proper cleats. That's all the equipment I wore. I didn't wear any other equipment. A lot of, I shed everything because I wanted to get faster.
Yep.
But the equipment I did wear had to fit properly, I had to be able to perform at my best, and that's what I get with PXG clubs. The grips are customized, they test your swing. All the technology now is like incredible, right? And say form fit it to your swing and to your fit. And so it's nice because when I was younger, I had clubs, and as my kids got older, they'd take all my clubs and I'd be missing them, or they'd break them, or they'd lose them. And then finally, I gave up trying to have my own set of clubs until the last couple of years, and PXG hooked me up, and man, my golf game has really improved.
Who's the best golfer in the Is it Lisa? Is it Christian? Is it you?
If Lisa wanted to be, she would be. But she doesn't golf as much as everybody else. And the kids would literally get in an argument. They would be arguing for the next 2 hours about who's the best. So I think, the other guy's going to hate me, I think Luke won the last time they went out. And I wouldn't say he has the most beautiful swing, but he gets the job done. Right, and he plays with PXGs as well.
There you go. Yeah, I need a new set of clubs. I think PXG might be the answer. Todd, what are your clubs like, Todd?
They're pretty good. They're not PXG. I got to give me a set of those. Maybe if my game gets a little bit better, I'll definitely give me a set of PXG clubs. So in Denver, there's a lot of great courses. Is there anywhere you love to play in Denver?
There are a million great courses. Yeah, and I play all over the place. So, obviously there's a lot of private country clubs, but there's some great public courses as well. So I've probably played every course in the state at this point. We've been living there since 1995, and I really enjoyed the game. I didn't play a ton when I was a player other than in tournaments and things like that. Set a couple course records. I don't know if you guys knew about that.
There you go.
Where?
Yeah. At the Cadillac Invitational Tournament in New Jersey, I had a record-setting 156.
That sounds like me.
This was before I started using PXG clubs. Actually, that's probably the best endorsement they could get. I had a 19 on one hole, and I'll admit I'm a really honest guy, but I was going to lie about my score. I'm like, there's no way I'm admitting to getting a 19 on one hole and shooting a 156. And then I got back to the clubhouse, and they have billboards in these real tournaments with my score highlighted. I'm like, I can't even lie about my score. They're recording it. But that was when I was a rookie. I was just learning the rules. I didn't know they counted it as a stroke when your club hit the sand in the trap. There's all these rules I didn't know. I borrowed my friend Bardos's kids' clubs because I didn't have my own set of clubs. Played the whole round. Back then they pay you to play, so I'm like, sign me up, I'll play. Even though I don't have my own clubs and I don't know what I'm doing. But then as I got older, I started playing in a lot more tournaments and playing with my teammates. It's a great way to bond in the off season. But yeah, went from a 156, getting my name put in Golf Digest for the highest score in the history of the tournament, to now I can golf in the 80s.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like 87 maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a pretty good range. It's like, say, 85 to 105. That's my range. On a good day, I'm in the low 90s. With the possibility of mid-80s, and then on a bad day, I'm over 100.
About right,
Yeah, exactly.
87 would be a good score. That's my goal. Next year, my goal is to shoot somewhere in the low 80s, like around 80. I'm not, 1 year at a time. I'm not trying for 70s right out the gate, but it would be nice to shoot in the low 80s. But I played a whole lot more this last year, and I think it's really because of my clubs. I have a consistent pair of clubs. I used to just, borrow them wherever I went golfing, ask if they had an extra set, and use whatever the golf course had for me. But the last couple of years I've been dialing in my game a little bit.
yeah.
You guys golfers?
I golf.
Oh, yeah.
I golf a little bit in Denver. It took me a long time to get used to it because, as athletes, you expect to like start and be really good at something. You feel like you're athletic. It took me a long time to try and get good, and I had put it away for a little bit, and then now I'm picking it back up, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, when I was younger, my best rounds were the first couple rounds because I didn't expect anything. And then I started swinging for the fences, thinking I'm a pro athlete. I should be crushing everybody out here.
For sure.
And then the ball started going left and right, hit a house.
Yeah.
And then, you're right. It's about your swing, and it's about having a rhythm and doing things the right way. And you can't just power your way through a golf game. And it's really more of a mental game than anything. You watch these great golfers, and they already know. It's almost like when you're playing billiards, right? Like they're setting up their next shot.
Yep.
And so once I learned to do that, my score started coming down.
And you gotta learn to let go. I think in football we grit through everything, and golf is the sport where you just kind of you've got some teaching, you understand how to play, you just gotta go out there and swing and just get comfortable.
And it's also practice. Like I used to just show up for the round, show up for the tournament.
Yep.
And I have a lot of friends who are very avid golfers. They practice every day at the range, and they dial their swing in. So when they go out there, they've had a ton of reps. They feel confident, because it's tough to just show up and then try to correct your swing mid-round.
Yes.
That's like a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
So like anything, the more reps, the more practice, the better you get.
And you two are both rocking your Super Bowl rings right now. Which one do you break?
Hold on, check this out.
Yes.
The same one.
Can you explain that?
Wow. No.
Can I can't even explain it.
How do you have that?
Nobody can explain
Oh,
it.
radio?
Well, I have 4 Super Bowl rings. This 4th one, I got to give John Elway credit for giving it to me because I called the game.
There you go.
The Denver Broncos.
That's a good deal.
That's big time.
Worked with Dave Logan, the voice of the Broncos, and we called the game on the radio. And called Super Bowl 48. That was a little disappointing, but then got to call Super Bowl 50. So this is the one I wear. One, it's the biggest by far. They got bigger and better every year. But also, it was really cool that John gave us one for calling the game on the radio. The other NFL broadcast teams all had them. All the broadcast teams that won Super Bowls, the organization would give them these Super Bowl rings. So for the first couple of years, they'd walk by the studio to say hi, to be polite, but they'd say, hey, and they'd have their ring on. And they're kind of like rubbing it in. You're sticking it to us. You're kind of sticking it to us, right? And so John was so nice to give us a couple, and I wear it proudly. This was the last playoff game the Broncos had played in up until this year.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they're back on track.
Oh, that's awesome. Speaking of your championships, when 97, 98, what's your favorite memory of those two teams?
My favorite memory is the last play of Super Bowl 32. And trust me, every play in every Super Bowl is amazing. But Super Bowl 32, right, was the first Denver Broncos Super Bowl championship in team history. And John Elway had been playing his whole career for that moment. And the fan base had grandfathers and grandmothers and aunts and uncles and kids had been going to games their whole lives. Not everyone even lived long enough to see that day. But when they did, it was like just a lifelong dream for so many people. And I was in the victory formation behind John in the backfield, looking at the ball, looking at the clock, looking at the ball, looking at just in case someone slaps it, I got to get it right.
Yeah.
But when he took the knee and turned around, every human emotion you can imagine was on his face. He's laughing, he's crying, and I so badly wanted to pick him up over my shoulders and carry him off the field. I was happy for me, but I'm happy for him and my teammates too. And he'd been working so hard his whole life for that moment. You remember he did the helicopter spin in that game. But this was it. The game's over. We won. But I had my knee drained twice during the week, and I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to play.
Yeah.
And then I just envisioned picking him up and dropping him. And I'm like, if I drop John Elway after the Super Bowl, I'll never hear the end of it. Yeah. So I settled for dapping him up, and then all of our teammates ran out on the field. But that's my favorite moment. I think about it all the time.
When I hear Ed McCaffrey in the Super Bowl, I think of the block.
All right.
Yeah, just light the, what was that?
That was fun. And yeah, sure, it would have been 30 yards of penalties today, and I might have been ejected. But it was legal back then. Totally legal. Yeah.
So how did the Broncos get back there? I know you know all about offense, all your boys played offense. What do they need to do to this offense, or what pieces do they need to find their way back to being Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, I think they're really close. They have great defense. They had a rookie quarterback who had a phenomenal year. I think they found their quarterback. So, in my opinion, it starts with ownership, really, and the Walton Penner Group has done a phenomenal job. They've proven to the fan base that they're going to invest in the team. They're also bringing alumni back, which I personally appreciate, and trying to remember and celebrate the history of the team. I think that's good for the Broncos. And then you have to get the right head coach. Look, Sean Payton, he's old school. He's serious about his football. You know, just like me, he might not be for everyone, but he's serious about winning, and he's serious about putting a Super Bowl caliber team out on the field. After you have that in place, you need the quarterback. I think we struck gold with Bo Nix. I really do. He was only rookie, had a fantastic season. Offensively, you know, it's hard, but it's fair. You know, every team I played for, they drafted a first rounder as a receiver, right? Broncos drafted 2 first rounders. And the reason that's good is it increases the talent level on your team. So at every position, you need to bring in guys to compete. And if you're the best player, you'll win that job. If you're the best player, you'll make the team. But continuing to bring in talent, obviously playmakers and star players, but also depth. Like team, you need depth. Guys go down, you need someone else to step right in and get the job done, because attrition is a big deal in the NFL. It's hard to make it through a whole season with all 22 of your starters that start day one. So I think they need to keep just improving talent. They have to have a good draft class, bring in some solid free agents to compete. Most NFL rosters have like a 60% churn rate, so half the team won't be back next year. You never get that team back. This is going to be a new team. So for the guys that were here, the young guys, get better, right? For the older guys, continue to do what you're doing. For any new guys, coaches have to get them up to speed as quickly as possible. I heard Coach Payton talking about how the receiver room's probably better than what they got credit for. They have some pretty good players, but they're going to look to upgrade every position. Running back, tight end, might bring in a lineman. Defensively, even though we had a great year, probably look to create some depth or bring guys in. You want to bring guys in to compete to start, right? And then may the best man win. And then the teams that can do that and still keep the room together, the receiver room, the DB room, the linebacker room, right? Guys that play together, and like kind of like me and Rod Smith. When I played with Rod, we started out as backups. We ended up becoming starters, but we competed for the same position. There was a time where we were literally fighting for the same spot, but we were rooting for each other. To me, that's the greatest experience you can have in sports, where you're rooting for someone else that's competing for your job to succeed. But when you have that, man, it's a special thing.
Two last ones for you. You mentioned the wide receiver position. Could you see Cooper Kupp being a fit here?
Cooper Kupp's a fit anywhere. He really is. I mean, he's a Triple Crown winner. He had one of the greatest Super Bowls in Super Bowl history and one of the greatest touchdown-winning catches I've ever seen. And if you remember that game, I think he was concussed. They called one of his touchdowns back, hit his head, came back, scored again. It was one of the greatest finishes ever. He's one of the best receivers in the league. He battled some injuries. For whatever reason, it didn't work out in LA. He will make any team that he plays for better.
I love that. Last one. We're from Denver as well. Rooting for the Eagles this week. What's the best way the Chiefs could lose this game?
It hurts that you're rooting for someone right now in this game. I can't root for anyone. But so you want for the Eagles to win.
Yeah, if you would, the best.
They have a lot of talent. The best script would be that the Eagles hit a chunk play up top to either A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith early, because everybody knows they can run the football. Coach Spags is going to have some tricks up his sleeve with stunts and blitzes and slants and things like that to try to stop the run, because they want to get a TFL or a second and long. They don't want to live in third and short. So if you do that, if Philly could hit them up top early, that's going to soften that defense a little bit, and then they'll get back to doing what they do best, which is run the football. I also think defensively, they need to find a way, the Eagles need to find a way to get pressure with 4, which they've done all year. But if you give Patrick Mahomes too much time to identify your secondary, he's going to pick you apart. You got to have a plan for Kelsey too. And the way Philly will win, if it's a close game, I mean, you never know, it could be a blowout either way if there's turnovers, but if it's a close game, the Philadelphia Eagles cannot give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes. And I've been thinking about this because I've been a coach too, right? And most of the play calls, like whether you're going to go for 2 or go 4 on 4th down, you already have it on your script. I don't even have to think about it, because if the score is this score, or depending on what quarter it is, I already know if I'm going for 2 based on the score. I already know if I'm going to go on 4th down in certain parts of the field. But there's going to be potentially a decision. I hope it comes down to this. Philadelphia has the ball. They're on their own 20 coming out. It's 4th and 1. Normally you punt, but are you going to punt that to Patrick Mahomes? If you don't convert, they have an easy score. But if you do convert, game over, run the clock out, end it on offense. That would be phenomenal. But I think Philadelphia is probably hoping they get the ball at the end of the game, and it's up to Jalen Hurts and their offense to drive the ball down on a very good Kansas City Chiefs defense. But I don't know. I always like the coaching aspect of it. Like, how risky are you going to be, right? Like, you going to do that? Because it's like if you don't get it, you might get fired. If you punt it and they score, you might get fired. So the only thing saving you, not that you're going to get fired during the Super Bowl, but I mean, your job's on line, you'll get critiqued. The only thing that'll save you is to get that first down. It might not come to that, but if it does, man, it'll be exciting.
I love it. Thank you so much, Ed the Legend. Thank you.